This is Space Cats Peace Turtles, the unofficial podcast for Fantasy Flight's Twilight Imperium. Episode 32, First Round Strategies, The Ghosts of Creus. Music by Ben Prunty, featuring Matt Martins and Hunter Donaldson. What's the proper greeting? Is it hello? Like, what's the proper first thing to say on a podcast? Because we've never gotten it right. we haven't done the right word yet.
Yeah, I think it's like, hey, pull over. I know you're driving to work right now. Pull over. Get in the shoulder right now. All right, you're going to sit in the shoulder for this one. Oh, you're going to be late for work? Oh, well, this episode's probably going to be an hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours long because we got so much we got to cover.
Yeah.
You're going to listen to this one in the shoulder. If you're in the shower right now, get out of the shower. Don't even dry off.
No.
And just
You'll dry off. There's enough time.
You'll dry.
We like it au natural.
Sit on the toilet for this one. Don't do any stuff. If you do any stuff, you have to pause. What's the other?
Where else do people listen to it?
Where else?
At work, like literally.
If you are at work, invite your boss into your office or cubicle. Let them hear the words I'm about to say right now. Hey, boss, your employee has to take some time off right now. So, boss, get out of here. He's got a 2-hour, or she, or they, have a 2-hour episode of Space Cats Peace Turtles to listen to right now. Boss, get out of here.
Get out of here. Hey, get out of here. We have some stuff to talk about tomorrow, Wednesday, May 16th.
Also, welcome to Space Cats Peace Turtles.
I'm Matt Turner. I'm Hunter Donaldson.
I'm Jada Pake.
I'm Jada Pake, and we are playing a game live on our YouTube channel tomorrow. That's Space Cats Peace Turtles on YouTube. We are playing at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're playing with our good friend Alex. You've heard him on the show before.
Yeah.
We're playing with returning live stream guests Keaton, John, and everyone's favorite child god king, Clancy. The Cult of Clancy is back. What does that mean for you, dear listener? That means we're going to play a really stupid game of Twilight Imperium. It will not be...
The dumbest thus far, I think.
The dumbest thus far. Every game, every live game we've done, we've tried to like up the ante on like stupid things that we can do. The more we can make it not look like Twilight Imperium, I think the better. So tomorrow, and if you're listening to this on Tuesday at release time, you have like 24 hours to get some input in on how to make this stream as good as possible. The ways you can do this are join our Discord.
Join our Discard.
Join our Stop it.
Welcome to the Discard.
I'm editing this out.
Welcome to the Discard.
I'm going to reference it all episode.
The Discard.
Welcome to the Discard.
Welcome to the Discard.
You can join that, and you can take part in audience agendas. This time around, we don't want to draw actual agendas from the agenda deck. That's what we did last time, but it kind of just never quite worked because all the agendas are designed around the fact that we, the players, would be voting on them. So this time, we said, hey, everybody else, make up agendas for us. Give us agendas.
Custom agendas.
That like break the game and are inherently designed for outside forces to be voting on them. These are agendas that feel more like environmental disasters than they do political scenarios.
And that's the best one.
That's the best. The best ones are like something terrible, crazy happened.
Put yourself, like, make the agendas almost like your god, and something is going to happen that that's outside of everyone's control, basically.
So you can do that. You've got 24 hours left. We've got a bunch of top hitters in there, and basically, if you're in our Discord, you vote on an agenda by giving them a Steve Martin emoji. And that's how it gets kind of thrown in. And we'll take the top 10, and we will, when we have to do our own agendas, at the beginning of an agenda phase, we will roll a die. That will select one of our audience agendas. We'll throw a straw poll into the video chat, and everyone will vote through the entire course of us doing our own agenda, and then we will reveal the audience pick once the agenda phase is over. Those are crazy fun. The other thing that we're doing is what we did last time, the Cult of Clancy. Clancy is newer to the game. Generally, he kind of doesn't really care about Twilight Imperium that much.
He doesn't really like it?
He likes it enough, I think, but he is not wholly invested in himself doing well. So instead, you get to give him advice. We have a completely separate Discord channel in our Discord server. And we, other players at the table, will not be allowed to look at that Discord channel, and you guys can give Clancy advice throughout the game. He'll take pictures of his action card hand, he'll show you his secret objectives, he'll tell you what he's got, you'll know everything about his faction and whatnot, and you will give him advice on how best to succeed in the game.
Treat him like a robot.
Yes.
That you can program to do whatever you want.
But be very aware that sometimes the robot has a mind of his own and will go against your wishes.
He's like an MS-DOS robot, where you might get the command line wrong, and then like he doesn't understand. It doesn't compute, so he does something else.
The other thing we've been trying to do, we tried to do it last time, is we want you to make our map for us. In Mac We Trust gave us a really cute, that's one of our space kitties, by the way. In Mac We Trust has been trying to develop a map for us that is like as chaotic can get, and we think maybe we're doing too many things at once. In that regard, because the audience agendas are adding a lot. There's already a lot of chaos.
I think I would. I think what it comes down to, actually, I mean, I'm down for a super chaotic game. The problem was we got to a point with the map where we were realizing that some of the really juicy audience agendas that we liked didn't compute with the map. Because some of the audience agendas are like, okay, we're gonna swap some things around in a way that will be really inconvenient. The thing about the map that In Mac We Trust made, which is an awesome map, is that it's already super inconvenient.
Right.
So in some ways,
the agendas don't become inconvenient for anyone.
Right. So like I feel like it's kind of one or the other. Yeah. Either we play on a map that is basically just completely nuts,
a bloodbath,
or we play on a regular map and let the audience mess it up as we go.
Exactly. And for now, I like the idea of making the audience stay kind of engaged, keep them going, give them reasons to want to like keep checking in on the game and shake things up.
However, I feel like his map has kind of inspired another stream that I would like to do down the road, which is Space Cats Peace Turtles plays on an impossible map.
Yeah, we will definitely do that in the future. I just don't think this will be the game for it. So there's a bunch of ways that you can get involved in this game that is happening tomorrow, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we don't talk about numbers very much on this show, but we are doing this stream because we are about to hit 100,000 downloads, and that's a big deal to us, and we wanted to celebrate it, and we want to celebrate it with you, and we like playing Twilight Imperium, and we want you to watch us play Twilight Imperium, so why won't you join us? We have an episode for you today.
Oh, yeah, I guess we have to do an episode.
Yeah, we got to do an episode, and we're already deep in this one, and we got a lot to cover. Today we're talking about the Ghosts of Crius, and the Ghosts of Crius. Actually, so let's, Hunter, I want to start this off.
Wait, is my boo joke really hitting you, like, on the levels of it? Boo! I'm doing a thumbs down, but I'm also dead.
So we've done a Winu episode and a Muad episodes, and the beginning of both of those episodes, we were very like, ugh, this was hard. This is a hard guide to make.
This is different, though, because the ghosts the ghosts are really cool.
Yes.
The ghosts are like, they're like a Ferrari, but then, like, the engine doesn't work.
Right.
Like,
that's probably like a famous thing with, I don't know, some kind of car. Insert people who know about cars.
Yeah, like a car
Like, do
thing.
Lamborghinis break easy? I don't know.
Yeah, like, is there, like, a really, really nice, like, luxury car, but it's actually got, like, crap under the hood?
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Probably. So we're doing the Ghost of Crius today. Hunter, I want to start today with an audio clip. We have a clip to play. This is from our interview with Dane Beltrami, and I think it will shed some light on the rest of this Crius guide.
All right, Dane, take it away.
I want to ask a fun question. What's your favorite race to play in Twilight Imperium?
Hands down, Ghost of Crius.
Yeah?
Wow.
What, can you elaborate? Yep. Just like what is it about them that
I love mobility in games.
Yeah.
I love their aesthetic. I love their name. I love their home system. I love their tech. Everything. The Crius are my people, and when they were released, like, I came home. It was awesome.
The designer of this board game we love and cherish so much. We're talking about his favorite race today.
Yeah.
This is Dane's thing, and I am about to dunk all over them for the next, like, hour and a half. So, Dane, if you're listening, I'm sorry in advance. And what's funny to me is of the 5 things Dane listed about why the Crius rule, 3 of them are non-game related. I love their aesthetic. I love their name. But the other things that he pointed out are great. Their racial tech and their planet, their home planet.
Yeah.
Both great things, and I completely agree there. I think the Ghosts of Crius are... What kind of race is Ghosts of Crius? They are in our rankings, in our tier list. We said they were situational.
Maybe the most situational?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I still stand by that 100%. There's just so many weird things that happen with them. I also would categorize them as inherently aggressive.
Yeah.
People kind of noted this about Lizix last week. Lizix abilities, just by the very
all
nature
combat.
of them, they're combat. And Ghosts is basically the same thing, except for like indirectly, but the only way to use their abilities, their mobility, is to get in other people's stuff, which is then inherently aggressive.
Well, you could activate empty systems and go there.
You could
That'd
just
be
waste time. You sure could.
Yeah.
Oh, Hunter, thanks for that really good idea. So let's go over the
Cool.
Ghost.
You know who's inherently aggressive?
Matt Martins. Let's go over their abilities. Let's try to run through these fairly fast because there's a lot of other stuff to talk about. Quantum entanglement. You treat all systems that contain either an alpha or a beta wormhole as adjacent to each other. Game effects cannot prevent you from using this ability. That last sentence is very important to this race being even, like, if they didn't have that sentence, this race would be even more situational because there are multiple things that, like, break wormholes.
Right.
So, you always get to go through any wormhole to get to any other wormhole, that not including your home system wormhole. Slipstream. During your tactical actions, apply +1 to the move value of each of your ships that starts its movement in your home system or in a system that contains either an alpha or beta wormhole. This is really the ability. I mean, the sharing wormholes is a huge deal as well, but this is the ability that makes them good. Mm-hmm. This is what gives them mobility, and this is kind of like what makes them do something different than any other faction.
Yeah.
If they could just go through any wormhole, it would not be like a huge deal. They just have a couple more options than other factions. But the fact that they also get +1 movement as long as they start in a wormhole, that's a big deal, and we are going to do our best in this guide to control that because we want to maximize the amount of chances and opportunities you get to use this ability.
Right.
Because that's the strength of the faction. Mm-hmm. Their third ability is kind of the weirdest one, but it's just to point out they do not start the game on the board. They have Crius Gate. When you create the game board, you place the Crius Gate, tile 17, where your home system would normally be placed. The Crius Gate system is not a home system. Then place your home system tile, which is the weird one with the squiggly edges. You place that in your play area. So you exist off the map, and the Crius Gate and your Crius home tile are connected by a wormhole. That wormhole is also connected to your Hill Kalish flagship.
Your Phil Collins.
Your Phil Collins, and this ship's system contains a delta wormhole. During movement, this ship may move before or after your other ships. That last part is only in there so that you can kind of actually use the ability. Sometimes you send the flagship to a spot and then send everything else to the destination. Sometimes you send things through your flagship to go back home and then send your flagship back home as well. There's kind of multiple ways you can maneuver this, but basically your flagship is always connected to your home system, which is great. Super cool flagship. It sustains damage. It's otherwise a fairly standard flagship.
It hits 1 on a 5.
It's the only flagship that is guaranteed to only roll 1 die. It's a nerfed version of 2 on a 5, but they didn't want to do 2 on a 7. It's 1 on a 5. And I'll say this much. The reason for that, to me, is because of what one of their faction technologies is.
Right, you're right.
So their faction tech is, there's the good one, and that's Dimensional Splicer. It's 1 red, and at the start of a space combat in a system that contains a wormhole, and 1 or more of your ships, you may produce 1 hit and assign it to one of your opponent's ships. It's worth noting that because your flagship is a wormhole, it can always use Dimensional Splicer. So that means when you have Dimensional Splicer and your flagship,
and Assault Cannon,
you're always scoring a hit. If you have Assault Cannon, you're scoring 2 hits before you enter combat. It gets really cool. It is an awesome technology. Their other one is 2 blues. It's Wormhole Generator. At the start of the status phase, place or move a Crius wormhole token into either a system that contains a planet you control or a non-home system that does not contain any player's ships. The Crius wormhole tokens are things the Crius start with. It's just one alpha and one beta wormhole that you can place on the map. So you're just adding alphas and betas to the map wherever you choose. It's worth noting that like if you already had an alpha down and you use Wormhole Generator to move an alpha wormhole, you're not doubling the amount of alphas. You're literally changing the location of that single alpha wormhole.
Can we go
token.
ahead and note that in this episode we are essentially going to sidestep Wormhole Generator?
Yeah, we don't care about Wormhole Generator. This is probably like the last time you'll hear us talk about it, except for if you have the secret objective to have 2 faction technologies.
Yeah.
To me, that's the only time you're ever going to get Wormhole Generator, save for the meta working really hard against you.
Right.
Because you have the
weirdest promissory note.
The most, like, corner case promissory note in the game. We love to be, like, hyperbolic on this show and like, this is the craziest thing in the game. This is the best thing in the game. There's probably like 4 promissory notes we have said are the best promissory note in the game.
Well, I feel like you're very hyperbolic.
I'm hyperbolic. You've done it too. Don't even.
I have never ever in my life, even for a second, been whatever it is we're talking
Whatever
about.
hyperbolic means.
Yeah.
You have the Crius IFF. At the start of your turn, this is the person that you give the promissory note. At the start of your turn, during the action phase, place or move a Crius wormhole token into either a system that contains a planet you control or a non-home system that does not contain another player's ships. Then return this card to the Crius player. You are giving someone racial tech that you do not own yet, and they get to use it better than you get to use your racial tech, because your racial tech is during the status phase. This is during the action phase. The promissory note is so weird because nobody ever wants it. Nobody cares that you have it. You care that you have it, and you are going to try to sell it to people. By that I mean you will pay people to take your promissory note.
Yes.
No one ever has a need for your promissory note except for like crazy, I don't know, off-the-wall scenarios that are not worth bringing up because they are so situational. In almost every game, you are going to be trying to get your promissory note into other people's hands, and it's going to cost you to do that.
This is essentially how you're going to completely sidestep Wormhole Generator.
Yes,
this is why Wormhole Generator isn't
that
really
great,
worth
because you can just do this. And the only other things to note of the Ghosts of Crius are they have 4 commodities, so they are a great commodity race.
Yeah.
And their home system is a 4-2, which is a objectively pretty decent home planet. But beyond that, last week we talked about the L1Z1X as having the second best monetary start in the game. If you give everything of value, the best outside of Jolnar, they're the second best.
Right.
So the whole point here then is if we use that same metric to define the Ghosts of Crius, the Ghost of Crius has the worst start in the game. They have 1 less resource monetarily than even the Winnu. Mm-hmm. You start with 1 carrier, 2 destroyers, 2 fighters, 4 infantry, and 1 space dock, and you also start with the gravity drive technology, which is the one that gives you +1 to a single unit during an activation.
Which is, I mean,
it's a great. So you start with a better tech? Here's the point of the Ghosts of Crius. While monetarily they have the worst start in the game, you have enough things. It's all this stuff is shaped in enough ways that it actually ends up being an okay start. I would not myself say that the Ghosts of Crius have the worst start in the game. They have in some ways a rough start, but the fact that you have +1 movement from your home system, and you start with gravity drive, so you have +2 movement,
plus several movement,
plus you're doing just fine. The gist is a Ghost of Crius player can kind of get to whatever system they want to at the start of the game.
That's essentially the race.
That's the whole point. That's the point of the faction is like round 1, you take the best planet in your pie slice. You do not care about it being like directly adjacent to your home slice. You just take whatever's great.
Let's say this. I kind of want to get this out at this point of the episode. Matt, are you because you kind of we led with that Dane quote,
yep.
And you were like, "Oh, I'm going to dunk on this race."
Yep.
You've laid out the abilities now. They sound really, really cool. And I realize we've kind of set ourselves up to say, like, this is not necessarily as cool as it sounds, or like there are some pitfalls, some problems. But before we get into all of that, Matt, Do you love the Ghosts of Creus?
I do
Is
not.
this a faction that you love?
I do not love them, but I played 5 games as Ghosts in preparation for this guide. That's the most I've played with I talked about how I played a bunch of games as Winnu. I played even more as Ghosts to try to prep this guide. And every time I started a game, I had the idea of what I wanted to do that game, and I was excited. I was excited to try that new thing. It was really cool. It had some quirks to it, but it seemed like it was solid enough that it would work. It wasn't, I wasn't grasping at straws to make some crazy strategy work. It was like, no, this makes sense and has a path to victory.
Right.
And every time, or almost every time, something so wild would happen, or something would mess up in such a crazy way that I would lose my opportunity to do what I was trying to do. Whether it be like a meta text or a meta game targeting me or whatever, the game kept messing up for me as the Ghost of Creus. I'll say this much. I am not a great person to play as the Ghost of Creus. If the Ghosts of Creus are inherently aggressive, Hunter already pointed out, so am I as a player. So combining the two of us means the potential for aggression puts everyone on edge at the table. I am already like starting with enemies before the game has even started when I play as Ghost of Creus.
Right.
People don't like me being the Ghost of Creus.
Right.
And
I feel like Matt has a problem with overexpanding or overextending when he plays really any race.
Yep.
But Ghosts of Creus literally are
That's
covered with overextension.
Yes.
And
that's
so-
that's what the ghosts do, is overextend themselves.
Yeah.
So this guide, to be just like frank with you, is coming from that perspective. It's coming from the perspective of I had to do everything in my power to like hold myself back from playing my normal kind of aggressive way. And so what you're about to get is a guide that hopefully is as conservative as I could make it while still using the ghost abilities. We could make a guide that's just like, don't use the abilities, don't do anything cool, and
Yeah, but that's not us.
that's not
That's
I want you to play the Ghost of Creus. I want you to do some cool stuff. And so I came up with what I think is the most consistent way to score points and win as Ghost of Creus.
Right.
A lot of the problems of Ghost of Creus come in doing cool stuff that doesn't do anything for you. That was always how I would define Ghost of Creus in TI3. It was kind of the same thing with Clan of Sar, but like Ghost of Creus was the biggest problem of
It's because
their ability doesn't get you VPs.
Right.
It does cool stuff, but not for objectives.
It is such a sexy race. They are the most like of all the races that I think struggle in games. Like if we're talking Winnu, if we're talking Sardak Nor,
Yep.
if we're talking the races that struggle, Ghost has always been like, but they're so cool.
Right. I don't care that I'm struggling. It's like wacky and fun and off
Yeah,
the
and
wall.
you get a lot of crazy stories of Ghost players pulling off like really insane combinations. Like even Dane had that story where he was talking about how he had the extra flagship parked in the home system and was shooting through the wormholes. Like that's
wild.
that's completely insane.
Yeah. So before we get into like what I'm gonna like truly recommend, I want to get some things out of the way. I want to talk. Here's
the cool stuff that you might. There's a lot of carrots on sticks because they are so cool.
Right. Our Discord knew I've been working on this Ghost of Creus guide, and people were kind of constantly sending me messages and like things they've tried, and there have been posts on Reddit recently of just like things people have tried with Ghost of Creus. I'm not here to say your idea is bad and it's not going to work, but I want to put some things and say why they never worked for me and why I don't think they're the safest route you could go down. All of these things are, sometimes they work and they work great, and you run away with the game because Ghost of Creus is a situational race, and that's always going to be the case with a situational race, is sometimes the situation is there.
Yeah, it's right. And there's going to be, for all of the little, for everything we're about to spell out in the episode, there are going to be anecdotes of people saying like, you're wrong, we did this and it worked.
Right.
But that's why we're really trying to lay down the groundwork of, we are trying to give you the conservative, the thing that probably works the most often.
Right, the safest bet.
Yeah.
So what are not safe bets? What are the pitfalls of Creus? The first thing is people saying that Dimensional Splicer is so good, you need to get it as fast as possible. It's a free hit. it is a free hit anywhere where there's a wormhole.
Yeah.
A free hit is not a thing to scoff at, and especially early when people don't have that many ships. Like, Dimensional Splicer only gets worse as the game goes on.
Yeah.
You could argue, right? Because as people get big fleets, one hit isn't turning the tide of battle.
Right, but you doing an early aggressive move where you go through a wormhole and destroy that one carrier, that's it.
Holy cow, wow. The problem with this strategy is, and especially if you are me, you will have no friends at the table. There will be no one on your side to go through wormholes and target stuff. It's like a yin kind of play, right? People talk about the destroyers in the same way as with yin. Like, if you just target people to blow their stuff up, first off, you are rarely getting anything out of it besides hurting someone else.
Right.
So it's more a kneecapping mechanic than it is anything else. And you're just not getting any friends. Like, you as the ghosts kind of only exist when you have good friends at the table.
I mean, I think more so to the point, the real core problem is you're writing a check you can't cash.
Yes.
Early game Ghost is not, oh, I can go through this wormhole and really mess this guy up.
Right.
And I can afford to do that. Like, I can afford to
Sure.
hold on to this and, like, keep it. No, you cannot. If you rush for Dimensional Splicer, to me, it means you will not be able to back up the play that you're going.
The biggest problem, too, is, you'll be good at space combat, but what are you getting on the other side of that? There are only a couple of objectives that have to do with winning a space combat.
Right.
You need to get planets.
Right. And so what, you like, essentially, even if you pop through the wormhole, destroy a ship, take a planet that you needed for the VP.
You're not going to hold it. It's too early.
You are not going to hold it.
You took one ground force, and it's too soon. The next thing, this is one people love, and we've seen it work. I have seen this work, and that is that Planetary Defense System 2, Deep Space Cannons, seem awesome with all the wormholes and the way that your flagship can work with them. If you plop a bunch of PDS down on planets that have wormholes in them, you're going to be firing PDS-2 like anywhere you want. If you put some on your home system, you're firing them with your flagship.
You can shoot in more spots than anybody.
Yeah,
you're like shooting fish in all the barrels.
It's amazing. Two problems with that is, as with anything, the same problem with Dimensional Splicer is this only is relevant where wormholes are, and you only have a tiny bit of control over where those wormholes are going to end up. The rest of it is purely circumstantial. Something we didn't even note about Dimensional Splicer is Dimensional Splicer is best defensively. In your pie slice, where you can better control where wormholes might be, that automatic hit is great. Same thing with PDS. PDS is not an offensive unit. It is so hard, and it requires a lot of setup and no victory point gain to get these like crazy PDS-2s firing out of stuff.
Right.
The first game that we played with our friend Doug, he tried this crazy strategy where he gave Hunter a support for the throne so that Hunter would put his wormholes wherever he wanted, and he was trying to set up a PDS network that was just going to like light people up in the late game. But it took a lot of setup, and he had to give away too much to get it going, to where that's why he kind of handed the victory to Hunter. He was paying Hunter to get this stuff down, and it was benefiting Hunter more than it was benefiting Doug.
For sure.
Because all Doug's doing is firing some PDS shots every once in a while. That's not getting you any victory points. That's not doing anything for you.
It was also a game where I was playing Soul, so I did not need the help.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was just like...
Yeah, so that there's a anecdote thing. But the point is, PDS are almost never getting you VPs except for one secret objective. And also, my other big point is going to be, you can switch into this strategy late game. You do not need to rush for it early. Mm-hmm. I do not like when people just try to get these PDS-2s going as fast as possible, because I think you sacrifice a lot along the way. The next pitfall is, my fleets are so fast early, I can take any planet I want. Mm-hmm. I kind of suggested this even in describing them. Like, you can get any planet in your pie slice that you want, but I want to make sure I stress in your pie slice. You can get to that planet adjacent to Mechatol Rex with your first action with your carrier. You don't have to do any shenanigans. You can just go to the planet adjacent to Mechatol Rex. You can even go to the equidistant systems between you and your neighbors. That's a little bit risky, and the reason being, if you can go anywhere, let's say I jump through a wormhole, I go across the map, I take a planet on the other side of the map, okay, well, most of my fleet is now over there, and I'm invading in someone else's territory. I just, threatened that person. I got in their way. I have just made a very, very strong enemy.
Ooh, yeah, I want to play this out completely, really stress this to you. So, the way this works, think about it this way. early game. You go through the wormhole. You take, you didn't think I could get there. I'm there, and I took that planet, and now it's mine. Okay, well, now you've got the whatever. If it was an equidistant system, oh my God. Now you have 2 players on the other side of the table that are
did this.
Get him out.
Yep.
And also, you have 2 neighbors. Your pie slice, by nature of the move that you made, is now weaker.
Right.
So you have made 4 enemies in one activation.
Yeah.
And maybe they're not enemies, like strictly enemies, but they're looking at you being like,
Yes, you have 2 people that you invaded their stuff and they're mad at you, and you have 2 people that go, hey, that looks a little ripe for the plucking.
Right.
I could jump in there and steal some stuff from ghosts.
The problem is the meta comes out against you hard if you try and be early
Every
aggressive.
single time.
Yeah.
Every time. So, my suggestion is use those fast fleets, but use them to take the best things in your pie slice. Start negotiating with people. Get those destroyers out to neighbors. You can use your fast fleets early, but you do not want to use them aggressively.
You don't want
early.
to overextend.
Right. And the last one is Dreadnought 2 with Light Wave Deflector would be awesome. You jump through a wormhole, you go through somebody else's system, you can just get anywhere. You have a ton of mobility. Light Wave Deflector and Dread 2s would be amazing. Let's just go hard blue. My problem with this one is that's a big late game push. You're getting a lot of tech. You're getting 3 more blues, a yellow, and an upgrade to get to finally now this strategy is going to work. Along the way, it doesn't do a lot for you, and only until you have Lightwave and Dread 2 is it useful. Investing in the late game as the Ghost of Krius, I think, assumes you can even make it that far, and in my games as Krius, I was never able to make that assumption.
Right.
I think you play in the moment, you can only do what exists in the round that you're in, and maybe looking ahead to the next round, but beyond that, it is hard to make plans as the Ghost of Krius because you're situational, and I would even argue it doesn't play to your interests. Your mobility means that you can pounce on things when they come up. You can pounce on opportunities that no one else is looking at, and it is better to leave yourself open to every situation rather than go gung-ho for one situation. So the rest of my guide is going to be how can we mitigate the situational problems as the Ghost of Krius.
What is always going to come up? What is always going to happen?
So what isn't situational as the Ghost of Krius? What can we rely on? The first thing, and I'll talk about this when we get into map placement even more, but you need influence. You need influence big time. Because, again, you are always going to be looking to capitalize on opportunities. Ooh, you left that planet completely undefended, and I can easily get there because my carriers have such crazy movement.
Right.
I just need the command counters to always be able to dedicate to that. Your home system is a 4-2, which means you're never using your home system to buy command counters. Mm-hmm. So you need influence elsewhere. You will always need influence because you need to be constantly getting as many command counters as possible. I would say more so than any other faction in the game, Ghost of Krius needs to be investing in command counters.
If you think about it, it makes sense because we're talking about a race that can pop through a wormhole and take a planet that somebody else didn't expect. Now, early on, I do feel like across the board that's going to be
not a great
play. But if you get to the point where you're ahead in the command counter economy and you're watching other people's sheets and being like, wow, those two are, if I take this right now, if I send a little force, grab that, and I score that VP, they will not be able to respond. That is the type of ghost play that we're talking about.
Right.
Not a, well, I'm here now.
I'm just here now. I just decided to do it, and you're going to hate it.
The only way you're going to be able to play like that is if your command counter economy is ahead of other players.
Always have to have extra command counters ready to go.
Yeah.
The next non-situational thing,
you're a surprise race.
You are
right.
You need surprises.
So what goes
What's
with
the best, Hunter? What is the best surprise race?
Yssaril.
Yssaril Traps.
It's
Why?
Duh.
Why?
Because action cards. Because they start with Neural Motivator.
Yep.
Because they have no limit on their hand size.
Yep.
And because they get to prune their hand.
Right. Ghost of Krius is like a mini Yssaril. They are not as good at doing all the things that Yssaril does best, but they have similar strengths.
They are better at popping up where they're not supposed to be.
Right. And so to do that, you need to get Neural Motivator. You just have to. 100% of the time, I'm going to argue Neural Motivator needs to be your very, very first technology.
Right.
If you ask some people in the community, they will say that's the case for every single faction. And maybe they're right. I don't know. We haven't made that claim yet. But with Ghost of Krius, that is definitely true. If you're looking to capitalize on situational things, you need action cards that help you protect those situational strategies. You need to be able to throw out some shields holding because you're going to be doing stuff with like kind of weak forces a lot of the time. So you need action cards to protect you. Having a flank speed at an opportune time will be awesome for you to get in that extra spot nobody expected. The more action cards you can get and the more often you can play them, the better. You are not looking to just bank a bunch like Yssaril are. That's why Yssaril is powerful. They can just hold on to action cards and then be like the crazy playmaker at the end of the game.
Right.
Ghosts are kind of spreading this out throughout the entire game. They're making little plays all game with their situational nature.
Yeah.
The next not situational thing is you have 4 commodities. You can get all over the map. You should be great at trade. I was always, no matter how the rest of my game went, I was always able to make a lot of money round 1.
Right.
Because you can get those, you start with 2 destroyers that can get 4 spaces away. You can get adjacent to people's home systems or adjacent to people's expanded fleets. And you can say, hey, this destroyer is just here so that we can trade. And you got 4 commodities to do it. So you should be able to make some money round 1 and even throughout the entire game. You are a good trade partner, hands down. Especially since your promissory note is like you're going to be trying to sell it. There's just like a lot of weird meta quirks to the Ghosts of Crius that make them a good trade partner. And you need to be pushing that because the other situational or non-situational thing is you need to avoid seeming aggressive because like we said, you are inherently aggressive. Your default mode is aggressive actions. So early on, someone's going to become your enemy because they're just going to be threatened by what you're even doing. It doesn't even have to be the person you're attacking, but like if you go somewhere you're not supposed to necessarily be, someone on the table is going to take that as a threat.
I have never seen a Ghost player do well if they made an aggressive early play.
Yeah.
Basically. So like you have to avoid those situations like what we described earlier where, oh, now I have 4 enemies. You need to create a, hey, I'm just a friendly, I'm Casper the Friendly.
Yes, that's
we
exactly
want
right.
to be Casper the Friendly
We want to be
Ghost.
Casper the Friendly Ghost.
Not Casper the Meanie Ghost.
No, not his weird cousins or whatever they are.
I
don't know.
remember that one. Yeah.
So let's actually talk about the game. We've gone on for a long time now, and we haven't even talked about like what our strategies are. But I thought it was very important to put other strategies at rest so that you understand like we are now kind of putting the blinders on.
Yes.
At least for the early game. This first round strategy is going to be very ignoring lots of other situations.
Right.
And I want to say up at the front of this, if other situations arise where that PDS strategy actually looks great or whatever, go for it. Like, try it. Try it in your game. Because like we said, the situations didn't work for us. We're going to give you what works the most often. But I bet there's going to be situations where you try what we're going for and it doesn't work because the other factions on the board completely counter what we are going to try to do.
Right.
That is the nature of the Ghosts. So let's talk about what I think is best to do as the Ghosts of Crius.
Right. All right, let's talk about map placement. What kind of pie slice are we looking for? We've sat down. We're going to play as Ghost. We've made the galaxy.
Yep.
What are we looking for? Obviously, we want all the wormholes, right? Every single one of them. We want them all, right?
No! That is the first common misconception with the Ghosts of Crius, and it was one that I was subject to for a long time. I thought, if I can get the more wormholes I can get in my pie slice, the better, because then I can like really jump around and do stuff. Mm-hmm. Or at the very least, I always thought, you have to have one wormhole in your pie slice.
Right.
If you don't have one wormhole adjacent to your Crius gate, you're in trouble, is what I used to think. No, absolutely not. You're going to create wormholes. You're going to create Crius IFF wormholes, and the best way to do that is to put Crius IFF wormholes in your pie slice, because that is the least threatening place that you can put Crius IFF wormholes. People are threatened when you're like, hey, put this over in Jimmy's pie slice. They're like, well, what do you got against Jimmy? I don't know if Jimmy's been perfectly nice to me. But if you're just like, hey, man, put it in my pie slice, it won't be a big deal.
Right.
People are usually willing to look at that and go, okay, fine. It's not that threatening.
Yeah.
And it doesn't cost you very much.
Right, and in some ways, they might even be like, oh, cool, now he'll be open to me coming.
Exactly. They find ways that they can take advantage of it. And you're kind of looking for that. The other thing is you want influence.
Right.
We already talked about
made
this
case.
but you need influence so bad. I would, in almost every single situation, I will pick the pie slice that grants me the most influence over anything else. I would even take a pie slice that's like 2 resources and 10 influence. That is an extreme thing to say, but based on my experience so far, I can get my money elsewhere.
Right.
I can get my trade goods out there. Like, I can
yeah.
get resources elsewhere. I desperately need the influence to buy command counters.
God, this is something that we figured out so late
Yep.
in this of just being like each race has like a, do they want more resource or do they want more influence? But this is definitely an influence race.
I will say I would like to have one wormhole in my pie slice.
Yeah.
It is not crucial, but having one is nice because it's going to increase your mobility. It's going to help you do better
Right.
because you have 4 systems technically in your home slice, what we call the home slice. And you have 2 Krius gates that you can put down. So if you can make 3 out of those 4 systems have a wormhole, that's great. You're going to be like super, super solid for the entire game.
But if you don't have a single wormhole in your, like, that's not that bad.
It's not so
because
bad.
You have grav drive. Like,
Right.
you're already killing it in the
Yes.
mobility
Yes,
department.
you're going to be fine. So let's talk about strategy cards.
Yeah.
This is another case that is very situational. Again, there are lots of arguments for lots of strategy cards in this arena. But I'm going to talk about the thing that I think benefits you the most.
I like your pick. I want to say that. I feel confident that
Yeah.
this is the best round 1 pick.
You need trade.
Yeah.
Get trade. If you do not get trade, get politics. Now, the round 2 play is actually where things get muddy. This is not the same as Lizzix. Lizzix, we said get tech or get politics, so that round
you
2
can
you can
take
get tech.
right.
Well, I'm not saying that round 2 you need trade.
Right.
But you do want politics because you want some action cards and you want speaker token for round 2. Because if you weren't able to get trade, it means you weren't able to pick what you necessarily wanted. And you just need to get rid of the situational nature. You need to be able to rely on something second round.
This is one of those races where we have a lot of stuff that we need to get done. There's a lot of things that need to be purchased. We need to buy some tech. We need to buy... we need to use the secondary warfare to build units.
Yep.
So that's why trade is facilitating that. This has
And you have the ability to take advantage of it.
Right.
3 trade goods is great, but like again, we said you can get those destroyers out there and trade with somebody, and somebody's going to want to trade with you. So taking trade puts you in control of those negotiations. Hey, it's me or nobody. I'm the one who decides who refreshes commodities. Trade gives you the most opportunities to make the most money. Every time I picked trade as the Ghost of Krius, I would end up having like 9 resources plus my home system. Because you're just able, if Hakan is at the table and you take trade, you can hold Hakan over the barrel, and it won't even be like that much of a threat. But you can do a 4 for 6 trade with Hakan. It worked twice for me.
Right. Because Hakan literally has no other option.
Yeah.
Hakan can say yes and
Or-
make some money, or say no and make no money, and that's kind of the power.
Especially round 1, no one's going to do the second. No one's going to pay to do the secondary of trade.
And this is just a good time to throw this out there. If like Hakan doesn't have the money to say no,
Right.
just so you know,
Right.
Like
They're
Hakan has to
poor.
say yes. They
Yeah.
are poor.
They need money. So doing
the
a 4
first
for
round anyways.
doing
First round.
a 4 for 6 with Hakan is great. Doing 2 for 3s with other people is great. Whatever it takes, but like try to maximize the amount of money you're going to get. And if you couldn't do trade, again, get politics, mostly because action cards are great. And here's my other big play with the Ghost of Krius is if you take politics, you just made the speaker token one of your bargaining chips.
Yes, get some money.
For me, I think it's very important to get the Krius IFF promissory note out there as fast as possible.
Ooh, okay, or that.
Because you want to put wormholes in your pie slice. That's the best use of the promissory note, is getting wormholes in your pie slice so that no matter what, if your units are protecting your stuff in your pie slice, they have that bonus movement. It always stinks when you have a planet in your pie slice that doesn't have a wormhole. Suddenly you don't have the Ghost of Krius ability. Like, now that is useless. So for me, if I could have a wormhole in every single tile in my home system, that is ideal, honestly. But like I said, 3 out of 4 is great. Once you get to half, it starts to like hurt you a little bit. So
let's say you can't get trade, you can't get politics. What are we going for?
I toyed around a lot with I think leadership is a great pick. Again, we need command counters. We just need to get as many as possible.
I want to say a point for leadership real quick. One of the things I like about the leadership pick, we've already established that you really need command counters, obviously.
Yep.
But and we've kind of at this point in the meta, people taking diplomacy round 1 happens less and less, and people are kind of more of the opinion that it isn't smart to pick.
Yep.
But if for some reason someone does pick diplomacy and you have taken leadership, you will have enough command counters
Yep.
to be like, oh, well, I don't have trade, but who cares?
I can do the secondary diplomacy. I can also do the secondary of tech,
Yeah.
warfare and tech, and it gives you just so many options, and that's what you're looking for.
Right.
Another great one, obviously, is warfare, because warfare is always useful.
Yeah.
If I get warfare, I'm looking to build a carrier in my home system and pull that command counter to send that second carrier out to another system. I'm going to take 2 systems in my home slice and leave them both defended.
Be careful if you do it that way that you don't mess up and not get any tech for yourself, though. That's the scary thing about warfare, is that
Right.
depending on timing, you might...
This is why we want trade more than anything else, because we really do want to build a second carrier, 3 resources we need right there, and we really do want to get Neural Motivator round 1. So we're planning to spend our home system, our home planet, on tech. That is the plan.
Trade is the best because you get to do all the things that you needed to
Yeah,
do.
trade guarantees you both those things, and you're probably going to get some extra money on top of it.
Right.
So again, the secondaries you want to do are, in this order, warfare and then tech. I think getting that carrier is more important. If you, for some reason, can't get the money that you need, you want the carrier more. You need to expand. You need to solidify your pie slice before you get Neural. You can get Neural Motivator round 2, and that is okay.
Yeah.
But you do need that carrier.
You got to do your homework.
But the goal, the real goal, is to do both.
Yeah.
Do warfare, do the secondary of tech. So again, let's go back to the Krias IFF thing.
The promissory note.
The promissory note. The one rule with Krias IFF is nobody else's units can be there for somebody else. If I give it to Hunter, Hunter can't place it anywhere where I have units. So I need him to place it down in planets I'm going to control, but don't control yet.
Yes.
Krias IFF gets harder and harder to use as the game goes on, because units start being everywhere. But early game, there's nothing there. So it is definitely your goal to get your stuff out to people and have them place it as fast as possible. There is no better way to do this cheaply than to give the player to your right the speaker token.
Yeah.
You're still going to pick second. That's totally fine. I'm not that worried about getting like the perfect strategy card round 2.
Yeah.
Picking second is great, and I don't have to pay them anything. I cannot foresee a situation where I'm like, hey, I'll give you speaker token to put my Krias IFF somewhere, and the alternative is I'll give myself speaker token and you'll go last. So what do you want to do, Hunter? Do you want to pick first, or do you want to pick last next round?
Right.
They're going to
take... It's a good deal.
It's a really good deal, and it costs you nothing, almost nothing.
Is support for the throne too much to pay?
It is nice because you have a buddy. You have a really good
You have
buddy.
somebody who's not going to come up your butt.
Yeah, but I just think I don't know. You know what? I'll say this much. It's not something I would do, but everyone knows that I don't like giving out support for the throne early. And in groups where like this is a regular thing, I'm going to go ahead and say absolutely yes, you do want to do that. Because if it's something that's already happening at your table, you need to get in on that. And that's a great...
But is Krias IFF that important to get down?
I think you should be getting other stuff too. I think it should be Krias IFF and some trade goods. Mm-hmm. Here's the big problem with it is you can't give them both at once.
Of course. You have to trade Krias IFF and then you give them support for the throne.
And which are you doing first? Right. And like it gets muddy and it's just kind of a scary deal. If your group loves support for the throne and they all get tossed around, maybe it's an okay deal. But I'm going to say generally speaking, it is too high a cost. Because for me... You can get the Krias IFF out there for like one trade good. And that should be the goal, is like one trade good or giving someone speaker token. If you have to pay very much to do it early, it is not worth doing it early. Because you can get it out later. It just becomes more difficult as the game goes on.
Also, of course, this is the only other time we're going to mention this tech, but if your table is so opposed to Krias IFF, this is why you have Wormhole Generator.
Right, you have
it's
a backup
the only
plan.
reason you have it. And it is your backup, and it's not a great backup, but it is a backup.
Right. You should never spend more than, I would say, 3 trade goods on Krias IFF. Yeah. And I would not spend 3 in the first round. Absolutely not.
No.
But like round 4, it maybe becomes that. It might cost that much.
I think your speaker token play is
the best way to do it.
That's the best one. And like round 1, not a support for the throne. Ugh.
Yeah. That's why, to me, there was almost some debate of maybe I just want politics more than I want trade. But trade's great. If you're playing a 3 or 4 player game, get trade and
you have too many needs. You have too many needs is the problem.
So, like we said, get your carrier. My next thing is the rest of your money that you have, I think you should start amassing infantry and fighters. And this kind of shows my hand of where we're going to go next. But the fact that we get Neural Motivator first opens us up to some specific tech paths. And we're going to plug some holes later on. I'll say this much. 2 times I bought my flagship round 1. And I, within 2 rounds, regretted it intensely.
Messed up.
here's the two routes as Ghost of Creus with like early games setting up your stuff. The first couple rounds, you are not looking to get into other people's stuff because you're trying to fix your start. The best thing you can do is you have to get an outside space dock set up. Find the best planet in your pie slice, preferably the closer to Mechatol Rex, the better.
I think preferably the one that you put your Creus IFF token in.
Absolutely,
like in
absolutely.
A good system that you can hold and have a space dock.
Baragler to 4, if that's in your pie slice, or if that's like an equidistant,
yummy,
get it and put a space dock. Put a space dock there. The only reason I would get the flagship, the Phil Collins, is if that became impossible for me.
Right.
If someone blew up my space dock or something happened where I just couldn't ever get my early space dock, then I might need my flagship.
Right.
But if that doesn't happen, having a forward space dock is more than enough to get you all the mobility you're going to need all game.
Right. And he did such a good job on the Tarzan soundtrack. Anyways.
So I'm going to want you to start getting infantry and fighters, and you need to get Neural Motivator.
Right.
You're probably getting it round 1.
About the mid game, because we've got all of our early games.
Let's hope. Here's what you hope you set up round 1. This is like the picture perfect look for Ghost of Creus round 1. You put 2 wormhole tokens down. That's really tricky. Most often you're only going to get 1 down, so don't plan on getting 2 down. But if you get lucky, you get 2 of your wormhole tokens down in your pie slice. Maybe one of your other planets is also a wormhole. You took 2 planets with a carrier you built off of Warfare. Sorry, not 2 planets, but 2 systems. You got Neural Motivator, and your fleet looks okay. Next round, you're probably going to need to boost up your fleet a little bit. But more importantly, you didn't make any big enemies, and round 2 and going into the future, you want to start really getting some friends. You are a wonderful trade partner. You are so great for people to have a trade. The worst game I had was one where my 2 neighbors both also had 4 commodities. That sucks as ghosts. As ghosts, it's really great when you're like one of the only 4 commodity people at the board, because you need that leverage. If they can just go somewhere else for their 4 commodities, you lose a lot of
I think
wiggle room.
I think in situations where you've got a lot of 4 commodity races, you're going to have to take the trade strategy card more often.
Yes,
because having the trade strategy card is the leverage.
Right. But you still have that mobility, so you can get all over. You should use your wormholes peacefully. Keep your stuff parked in your home system and be like, hey, if you just go park on your alpha that's over there, you and I can trade. Let's do that. Let's trade right now. And look for people to open up those opportunities with. Find ways to be peaceful at the board, because you are, again, working against the fact that they know that you could kind of do anything at any point. And maybe you're going to be a tricksy little hobbit. So you need to stay in your lane and be peaceful and be getting money, because the more bankroll you have, the better for opportunities later on.
Right.
Your promissory note, if you didn't get all of your wormholes down, keep trying to get it out there. But again, never pay too much, and it gets harder to put it down later in the game. Now you've got some ships above Baragler to 4, but you didn't get the wormhole there. Well, to get it down, you're going to have to make those ships go away and then time it out perfectly so that then your neighbor puts the wormhole where you need it. It gets really tricky. If you can get it done round 1, it is always better. So let's talk about why we got Neural Motivator and where we go from there. In the beginning of this episode, we talked down Dimensional Splicer. We talked down going deep into blue. We talked down PDS2. So what in the world?
What does that
What
leave
are we
us?
even trying to do as the Ghost of Creus? Well, we expressed that you do not hold stuff very well. You have a hard time taking a planet and then also holding it.
Right.
And you don't have delays like a Sorrel does, where you can just wait till the end of the round and then do all your actions, unless maybe you get a lot of command counters. That's kind of the other benefit of getting a lot of command counters. But here's what you want. You need infantry too. If you can skip Daxiv and if you can get Neural Motivator, Hypermetabolism, infantry too, that is awesome. But Daxiv is still very,
Daxiv's
very
okay.
good. Daxiv is great for what you're going to be doing. Then you want to either do Carrier 2 or Fighter 2, and then whichever one you didn't get, probably get the other one, because Fighter 2 is going to be hugely useful for you. And to get all of these techs does not take very long. You need 2 green and infantry 2, and then 1 more blue to get Carrier 2, or you already qualify for Fighter 2.
Your tech path is really similar to Soul. Basically, your
Yes.
tech path is kind of setting you up to be like a tricksy Soul, like
Yes.
any Sorrel Soul.
Right. And you get it just like so quickly. It's very easy to get kind of all 3 of these upgrades quickly. Mm-hmm. And you've got 2 and 2 colors. The only thing you don't have is 2 and 4 colors. So where do you go from there? Again, I think there's lots of room to get more tech. I would say you don't need to, but I say aim for tech objectives. Aim for 2 in every color. Getting to Dimensional Splicer combos very well with advanced fighters.
Right.
You want to talk about gum. Ghosts of Krias have some gum, and it's aggressive gum.
Yeah.
You get out there and you just send one fighter to a wormhole that someone left something in. You blow up whatever that is, and you get to pick what it is. It's amazing. It's so cheap. It costs you nothing, and you just blow stuff up.
Talk about bubble trouble.
Bubble trouble. Here's what I would outline is actually the dream to have as the Ghost of Krias. And this is we're talking Magic Christmas Land. We got every single tech, the whole game that we wanted. But I think anti-mass is good. Mm-hmm. Being able to jump through asteroid fields was always useful. Anytime I didn't have anti-mass, there was some move I wanted to do, and I was like, man, if I just had anti-mass, this movement would actually be useful.
Yeah. Their movement is so insane that things like asteroid fields will actually get in their way reliably because they have so many options.
Exactly. So anti-mass, gravity drive, Sarween tools, and transit diodes, because being able to warp your ground forces around is going to be amazing. Neural motivator and hypermetabolism. But again, if you have Daxiv instead of hyper, that's okay. Maybe you still get hyper later. I don't know. Plasma scoring and dimensional splicer. Just to plug this, the other reason dimensional splicer is so great is it lets you skip Magen. It is a replacement for Magen Defense Grid. It is like, that alone makes it an amazing tech just because like I can go up red path and get something useful on the way. Mm-hmm. And then you end up with Infantry 2, Fighter 2, and eventually PDS 2. Would be great to have with all of these other combos going on. Notice I didn't go deep into any of those trees. I got basically the first 2 from everything except for transit diodes.
Hyper.
But even to say this, I mean, Graviton Laser Systems, if you're going the PDS route, is great. Right? So you have options in every single tree. I don't think it's worth it to go deep into anything because it takes too long, and it like with staying shallow, you're constantly benefiting yourself in little ways that are always immediately valuable. You'll notice here I haven't really talked about Dreadnought 2 yet. I do prefer getting Carrier 2 over Dreadnought 2 once I've gotten my 2 blues and whatnot. Mainly because I never was able to use Dreadnoughts super well with this strategy that I'm doing. Dreadnought 2s actually tended to slow me down since I could only carry 1 ground force at a time, and I would actually bring a fully loaded carrier with a bunch of fighters and a few ground forces, then like have to coordinate a fleet around a Dreadnought to make that work. That being said, once you've gotten kind of the other important things, I think Dreadnought 2 is fine to add to the list. But me personally, I would rather have Infantry 2, Fighter 2, and Carrier 2 over Infantry, Fighter, and Dreadnought 2.
I want to talk real quick about the hypermetabolism versus Daxiv thing, because I think Daxiv is really, really cool with this Infantry 2 strategy. But I just want to point out that the reason that Matt is recommending hyper a little bit more than Daxiv is because of how many times he ran into command counter problems.
Every time.
So obviously, if you're in a situation where I'm not really that worried about command counters, Daxiv is cool. Like the idea that you're going through the wormhole, popping some guys down, and then when you win the fight, you get the extra guy. Like that. Like I got to see you use that one time, and it was really cool.
If you have Mir and Mechatol Rex or something, I'm not recommending go for Mechatol Rex. But if you, I mean, it is a huge influence planet, and you might be the person you might be the person that denies Mechatol Rex from other people. Because again, you're not even necessarily trying to go for Imperial. You're very good at scoring secret objectives and other things as long as you set yourself up. So you could be a person who just camps on Mechatol for the influence. And if you do that, you don't need a hypermetabolism.
But I think that perfectly transitions us into talking about command counter economy in general. What are you normally going to be left with?
You're going to have very few command counters. I don't like pulling command counters from Fleet Supply, but in multiple games I had to do it leading into round 2 just to give myself the options to still have a decent round 2. There are going to be lots of games where your round 2 is very command counter starved because there's a lot of things, like we said earlier, you're trying to accomplish round 1. So I was constantly afraid of command counters. I think as Ghosts beyond round 2, you should take leadership every single time it is available to you, unless there is some incredibly obvious way you're going to score a victory point with something else this round. But like that is a very few and far between scenario. If leadership is available, you should jump on it right now.
Right.
That goes for kind of what we were saying earlier too about the politics play. Picking politics means round 2 I can pick leadership and immediately fix the fact that I starved myself out of command counters round 1. I think leadership is probably the best round 2 strategy card pick. Sure, trade will be useful as well, but you're getting the most use out of trade round 1, where nobody else is able to take advantage of it.
I mean, I think for the very first time with Ghost, I would maybe, if I needed it round 2, I would maybe actually secondary trade. Like, actually spend
possibly.
If
I got leadership.
Right. If I got leadership, I would maybe, like, because the thing that's interesting about actually spending the strategy is that you kind of get to insert yourself into the trade discussion.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm not saying that you should always do this, but it's an interesting idea with Ghost.
It's one of the few factions we would say, maybe you do that.
That's a thing.
So, all that being said, basically, you're trying to line yourself up with this shallow tech strategy. You're trying to trade a lot. What could have gone wrong?
God,
early?
so many.
A lot.
We could
And
do
almost
the whole episode about that.
Every game, something did go wrong for me. The biggest things, though, are if trade is across the table from you, and there's no way for you to get ships adjacent to them to trade with them,
bummer.
that hurts a lot. That is very, very detrimental to you. You are not going to be able to get the money that you need to get. You're not going to get both a tech and a carrier, and that sucks. The other things that could go wrong is you didn't get a single wormhole down with Krios IFF. That is okay. It's just going to be more difficult to get them down later. And I do think it's very, very important to get those wormholes in your pie slice. It's improving your mobility. It's letting you do more in the mid game. And it's improving the defensive capabilities of your pie slice. Let's say you decide to go for Dimensional Splicer fairly quickly. You know, I still think you do the Infantry 2 thing, but let's say immediately after Infantry 2, you want to get Dimensional Splicer. Wormholes in your pie slice make your pie slice easier to defend. You score a hit anytime anyone tries to invade your stuff. That is great.
It's a good deterrent.
It's a good deterrent. You're also very likely command counter starved after round 1. That's almost a given.
Right. We did recommend that you basically do use all of your
exactly.
counters.
You're sending your destroyers to like multiple locations probably, and you're spending a lot. So you need to get your command counter back online, and you probably made at least one enemy. Just straight up, almost every game, you're going to make one enemy. Maybe not even directly, but like something you did, someone's not cool with. Someone's mad that you made a good deal with whoever. You know, the person that you gave the speaker token to your right, the person to their right is not pleased with the fact that they are now going last.
Yeah, the other thing, too, is, like, because you can get to so many different places, even if you have no intention of being aggressive, just the nature of that is...
threatening.
Like, you know, that I would have... Like, when I was your neighbor as Hakan in the game we played recently, I would just be like, man, Matt can just get over here and mess with my stuff.
Yes.
And you did.
Right. It's especially frightening because, like, you can get into people's home systems round 1.
Right.
You probably won't because that would be very ballsy, but everyone looks at you and goes, ghosts, you better not do anything to... And just, like, everyone's looking for you to ruin their day.
Yeah.
You need to protect yourself against that. So if you see anyone who is your enemy going into round 2, you need to find ways to either reconcile that scorned relationship, or you need to find ways to protect against it.
Reassure people that you're not going to do that thing that would mess up their whole thing.
Right.
Like the early game, that you don't have enough to gain from it. Because if people get defensive towards you early, it can really mess you up.
Definitely.
Let's talk counters.
Not command counters. I feel like it's always confusing that we go from command counters into counters.
Into counters.
Yeah.
Let's talk who ghosts counter. Obviously, nobody.
There's nothing. I don't. If you can give me some ideas, but like I don't think ghosts hard counter anyone. There are factions that they can like do some things to. I'll say this much before you like start typing up your response to me. We're gonna have a lot of honorable mentions. So it's not that they're not good against some people, but I don't think they hard counter anyone. But who counters us? Honestly, I'll even still say not that many people. I don't think anyone has just like, nobody's just like, oh, I destroy mobility. Like, no, you don't have put a stop to mobility.
That's essentially the whole thing, though, is if your advantage is mobility, that's not, like, the potential for that to be a counter to anyone is completely depends on the game itself.
Right. But being said...
Extra.
Right. Extra is just not a pie slice you can typically go to.
Right.
I had one game where Extra was my neighbor, and I was Ghosts, and just their flagship being on the board, putting Space Cannon adjacent to a bunch of different tiles that I potentially want to go to, that sucks. It's really hard to maneuver where you want to go when that flagship is on the board.
That's a lot of tiles you can't go to.
Right. So I would call extra a hard counter. Everything else is not necessarily, though.
Right.
So let's talk about these honorable mentions, because there's a lot. The first honorable mention revolves around Dimensional Splicer. We didn't recommend going straight for Dimensional Splicer, but Dimensional Splicer is a great technology when it is useful.
Right.
And when the best way to use it is destroying. Obviously, you get to pick what you kill, so being able to snipe through and take out targets that they really don't want you to take is the best use of that. I'm thinking Naalu. If Naalu has a fighter fleet that is all protecting one carrier, if you are able to get the wormhole in the right place at the right time, again, this is all very situational, but if you can do it, you snipe that
Those fighters
carrier.
will still fight through the fight.
Sure, but you kill
they will
the thing.
be dead after.
Yes, and they won't be able to. Well, even their advanced fighters will survive. But the point is, Naalu is hurt very badly when they lose all their ships that let them take planets.
Right.
Fighters are not winning the game for Naalu alone.
Right.
Fighters are protecting things that are doing other stuff. Another one, I think Dimensional Splicer is great against Yin. You take out a destroyer so that they don't get to target you with something, or you take out their carrier that's trying to bring their ground forces. There's multiple targets that Yin is going to have that you can take advantage of. And the last one is the Embers of Muat. No, you can't kill the War Sun outright, but you can get one hit on it, and then they're in trouble.
We probably should have mentioned that you cannot direct hit Dimensional Splicer.
That's true.
You cannot use direct
So
hit.
it's not a perfect scenario, because you can't use Dimensional Splicer, hit the War Sun, and then blow it up, because direct hit is worded as coming from one of your units.
Right.
And Dimensional Splicer has been confirmed by Dane to not come from one of your units.
Right.
It's one of the few instances where direct hit doesn't get to apply. What else is a honorable mention? Like we said earlier, I don't advise doing this, but you can threaten people's home systems round one. You can blockade someone's home system. The people that are always the most afraid of this are Muat.
With a bullet.
Yeah, that's like Muat hates the idea that Ghost is near them, just from the get-go. Winnu, this is terrifying for Winnu, and Arborek. Arborek would hate to see their space dock blockaded before they can get their second carrier out there. Mm-hmm. That's going to ruin their day. This would be a very mean thing to do. I only threatened it once and was immediately told, if you do this to me, I will ruin your life. I don't recommend doing it, basically. But the threat is there, and if you see someone... If an Arborek got everything else handed to them, they got everything they needed, and you have no other way to, like, slow them down, throwing that destroyer there might be something. Or at the very least, if no one's willing to trade with you, the threat of putting it there, you might have to extort your money out of them. Oof. I, again, don't love doing that, but if all other options have been exhausted, then maybe you do that. And the only other honorable mention is, if we get our upgraded infantry and we get where we want to get kind of random spaces on the board, we are good at taking planets, or we're okay at taking planets. And so that meaning we take planets that are not super well defended. So maybe the planets that Sol and Arborek haven't focused on, we're a decent race at kind of like culling Sol and Arborek back a little bit. You're not countering Sol and Arborek. You're not ruining their day.
The goal is to get there first.
The goal is to get there first before they can put anything down. And even if you didn't get there first, you might be able to get there before they get too many ground forces down. But definitely the goal is, oh man, Sol wants to get to Barragluta 4. Me and Sol are neighbors.
Right.
I can just get there though. I can just get to go to Barragluta 4 and I keep them off of it, and that saves my game. Sol doesn't love that you do it, but like, what else are they gonna do that early?
Right.
So take equidistant systems early from races that you know that's going to be a threat if they get there first. Sometimes you might be able to talk with your neighbor and be like, I would like to take it. What can we do? How can we negotiate this? But with people like Sol and Arborek, just go there. Get it. Take it from them. What makes us a superpower is an interesting question with the Ghosts of Crius, because we said that they are situational. Superpowers are usually something that you can rely on, and you don't really have anything that you can rely on as the Ghosts of Crius. But you first off, we've already talked about this. You are the most mobile race. That's definitely your best power. The fact that you can just show up where people weren't expecting. That's a big deal. But the other kind of interesting note about the Ghosts of Crius is they can have some of the best stuff in the game. Mm-hmm. It's hard to get there. Our strategy guide was not revolved around getting these things, But if you have a decent early and mid game, it can lead to some very powerful late games. Just to run down the list a little bit, you have the best War Suns in the game. Your War Suns are better than even upgraded Muat War Suns because they have 4 movement with your Gravity Drive and Slipstream. Your War Suns really get places people weren't expecting. You also have the best PDS in the game. We mentioned
Your PDS can hit more spaces than anybody.
Than anybody else's. That is a big deal. And you can also control where those spaces are. Again, if you put 4 PDS on Barrack Lurta 4 and then throw an Alpha Wormhole there, that's kind of a big deal. You also have some of the best pre-combat abilities in the game. Mentak gives them a run for their money, but Dimensional Splicer
plus Assault Cannon
is a big deal. Plus, any PDS you have firing through wormholes. The situational nature of this is this always has to be occurring in wormhole systems, but hopefully you're controlling that. It's tricky and it's difficult, and I'm not saying it's amazing, but like it seems important to point out that like you have some of the best versions of units of any one in the game if you can get there.
Essentially, in like a theory crafty way, and it's like how we started the episode. This is like one of the coolest races, if not the coolest race.
Yeah.
You have the potential to do some insane stuff, and there are, I'm sure, some anecdotes out there of Ghost games where when they got to the late game, it was really, really scary.
Right.
But the counterbalance of that is that early game hard.
Yeah, you're really easy to stop early game. So where are you trying to find your victory and have that be reliable is stay in the shadows. This is kind of like our Winnu suggestion. Don't take a lead. Be very, very, very careful. You are Isarl without the especially powerful benefits. You are Isarl light, so do not get overeager. Do not take leads. Your best case scenario is you end round 5, or you start round 5 or 6 at like 6 points and a ton of command counters and access to a lot of systems in the game, and you plan on the next round going from 6 to 10 victory points.
Right.
You need big swings in the late game.
Stay in the herd until you can finish.
Do not. That's why there's the 2 reasons why you don't stretch out early. Is 1, you're being aggressive and that's making you enemies, and getting to the top of the victory point track is even more of a threat. Like, people will not do anything to help you in the mid game if you're at 4 points by the end of round 2 or 3. Like, if you're in the lead, that's the worst thing you can be. Yes, stay in the herd and be keeping such a level economy, command counter wise, everything else wise. Like, keep your stuff safe so that when you need to flip the switch on to suddenly take a bunch of stuff in one round, you're ready to do that, because you need to be able to do that at any moment. The worst games I had were when, man, if I just could take that one planet over there, I could win this. But I'm out of command counters. My fleets can't get big enough because I had to pull from fleet supply too many times or whatever. There are lots of reasons why you can ruin your own game by just not having your economy working for you.
Right.
So stay in the pack, stay fair and even, keep your money controlled, and you might be able to swing a victory in the mid to late game. And that's it. We did it.
Good job.
More than an hour on just the guide. We gotta jump into some errata.
Hello, cats and turtles. Whoa.
Wow, you guys have names now.
Hey there, cats and turtles. Welcome to Space Cats Peace Turtles errata. Hey there, cats and turtles. Welcome to Space Cats Peace Turtles errata. The podcast where you let us know what you thought about that stuff we said, and oh yeah, you love it. A lot of talk for the L1Z1 episode last week. A lot of it was about inheritance systems, but I don't want to cart before the horse it. Let's just jump right into it, shall we? Let's do it. We had did a lot of work this episode. It's gonna be long. This one is a big one. We don't have time. Reddit,
quit wasting time.
Sorry. Apologize.
I'm sorry I yelled at you, Hunter.
This first one's from Reddit Twilight Imperium. It's from Edaweir, who had a very, very long post about inheritance systems. Very good post.
We're going to summarize it.
I will be making the argument that inheritance systems is not only a bad choice for the early game, but indeed a bad tech overall, down to the level of Magen Defense Grid and worse. It makes technology more expensive, more erratic, harder to apply, and worst of all, slower for you than it is for your competitors.
Edaweir then went on to break down each of those 4 things: why it is more expensive, why it is more erratic, why it is harder to apply, and why it is slower, each of them being all from the perspective more of, this isn't like a disagreement with our opinions on inheritance systems, but this is kind of like,
It's a good context.
The reason why you do not rush for inheritance systems is sort of what Edaweir outlined. I highly recommend you go read his post. It's the top reply on our Twilight Imperium subreddit post. But he continues to say,
I acknowledge the idea that it is helpful to buy situational upgrades, but I doubt that every game will have situations where a specific tech is necessary to get a VP every round. You are not a weak race in search of tricky shenanigans to survive. You are a solid race and should be able to build a strong base without burning 9 resources and becoming able to attempt to score a potential VP maybe for this round only. Whatever VP that is, you're paying more than double for it, and you shouldn't be. I feel like we agree and disagree.
right.
So essentially, I think the reason that I like inheritance systems is for the situational okay. It's not only for situational upgrades. It's for the fact that you can buy the situational upgrade within the round that you are in.
You get it the
currently.
moment you need it.
Right. So being able to do that is what those extra 2 resources are for. I am not recommending that you use inheritance systems to buy all of the tech that you need. Like, it's not get inheritance systems and then just start going wild for tech. You can stay in your tech path, but the idea that you will be able to jump to an X-89 or an assault cannon or
if you
lightweight, if you needed it in that moment. And it really is, it's really just those 3 tech and then Warsun. And besides that, most things are within your tech path. That was pointed out. But the thing is, one of those things is Warsun, one of those things is Light Wave Deflector, one of those things is Assault Cannon, and the other is X-89, and really they're the only race that could potentially make use of
We weren't
X-89.
saying they have a great use of X-89. We were saying they're kind of the only ones that can actually take advantage of it in a realistic sense.
But if we're looking at it as those 4 tech...
Right.
I can see a lot of games where, I'm going to need that this time. But, like, let's look at the alternative. The alternative is I commit to just one of those, basically.
Right.
And maybe it won't be useful in this game, but maybe one of those will.
I think the other point, though, too, is, like, Edaweir's coming again from going inheritance first. We didn't say that. We said go Dreadnought first. And people later pointed out, like, okay, well, if you go Dreadnought, then inheritance, you're talking really late game by that point. And that's sort of true, but you're also fulfilling a lot of the requirements out there. To get Dreadnought 2, get to your 2 blue, and then to transition into inheritance systems is the 2 yellow you need. Also, remember, we were very staunch supporters of if you have the yellow tech skip, it's worth doing. If you do not have the yellow tech skip, you need to really reevaluate if you're doing the inheritance systems things or not.
Right.
It really may not be worth it if you have to get Graviton laser systems on the way.
Yeah.
If you can just go straight from Dreadnought 2 into inheritance systems, its viability becomes much more relevant.
Right. You might, if you don't have that yellow skip, it might not be worth going outside of just your tech path that you have in front of you. I mean, grabbing things like Daxiv and Hypermetabolism or Fleet Logistics and then just getting up to Lightwave the normal way. If you don't have the yellow skip, maybe that's the game you go for.
Yeah.
But I feel like the inheritance systems play is just based around, like, what's the weird thing that's going to help me out of this situation? And honestly, a lot of times, if I got all my other tech set up, I would be like, yeah, I'm down for it.
I do think there's situations where it's like, you know what, actually all I need to get the rest of this game is I decided PDS are good for me, so I just need plasma scoring and PDS 2, or like I just want to get Daxiv and Hypermetabol. Like, there are certainly games you do not need to get inheritance systems.
Right.
But we were pointing out how often it can be useful to have gotten it. By the time you realize you need inheritance systems and you didn't get it, it's too late. You're not going to go down that path now, but if you jump on it right off the back of Super Dreadnought 2, you might be able to get some work done.
Right.
This is probably a reference to something. I have no idea, so I'm going to pronounce it wrong. But the Grand Kzinti, I don't know, Patriarch, Asgi Thor, followed up on Edaweir's points. We were kind of just referencing this, but they said, in the case described in the episode, it will be round 4 when you research it, and by that point you will effectively have 2 blue, 3 yellow, 1 green, 1 red. The only tech outside of primary range is Warsun's Assault Cannon and X-89 Bacterial Weapon. So the point being, if you take tech after you've gotten everything else we said, Those are the only 3 things out of your reach. You could buy 2 tech and get anything else.
Right.
You may as well have just bought the Assault Cannon and Warsun directly instead of going for Inheritance Systems, which I disagree with because we didn't go down the Warsun path. We don't have all that red tech.
Right.
But Inheritance Systems can be efficient. It saves you huge amounts of time primarily, but is basically only viable if you have a yellow tech planet and can choose the tech strategy card. And I think that's like, that last point is the big driving point. You need a yellow tech specialty, and throughout the game, you're going to need to have taken tech once or twice, which is why our strategy relied on you taking it early.
See, that was the whole thing, is like I wanted to get the tech stuff out of the way early game for L1. That way, late game, they could just be the powerhouse they are and just focus on that.
If you're following our guide, you took tech early and you got Super Dreadnought down quickly. If you are not following our guide and you didn't take tech, then I don't think that's the route you should be going. Like, yeah, Inheritance Systems will be too slow. Someone else pointed out about, like, if you never got to take tech, it's going to be super, super late game before you ever get to Inheritance Systems. Like, yeah, that's why we didn't recommend doing it that way.
Yeah.
You need to take tech a few times for this to be a viable strategy.
Right.
So it's if you can't do what we're describing, don't do the last things we're describing. Do what works for you in your game. But Inheritance Systems, if you're able to rush Super Dreadnought 2, can be viable.
Let's see. So the next one is from Katrinka. Katrinka. Sarween Tools is definitely the better tech compared with Neural Motivator. Here we are. I have never won a game without acquiring Sarween Tools, and have won a few without even considering Neural Motivator, out of only the 10 or so games of TI4 that I have played. Personal anecdotes aside, Sarween is the more effective tech because its unique ability is exclusively acquired through its acquisition. Action cards can be acquired by completing the secondary or primary ability of the Politics Strategy card, plus Neural Motivator has a caveat, the 7-card hand limit. If you're spending cards, this won't be a problem. However, drawing good cards that you cannot immediately use can become a problem, i.e. sabotage, direct hit. There is no limit to free infantry and or fighters. Neglecting Sarween is an expense that no race can afford. Gauntlet Throne.
Gauntlet Throne. Hunter and I are not going to provide any commentary. Consider, I think from now on, there is a special spot of the errata that is designated to the most recent part. Like next episode, we will do a Neural Motivator errata, and we are the vessel for your argument about Neural Motivator versus Sarween Tools in perpetuity.
Yep.
So moving on. I'm literally not doing anything
We have
else.
nothing to say.
Von Ron says, I do have experience of making the promissory note work. Yay! We always love getting these.
Yeah,
we need this.
fun.
All right, so let's hear what it is. Caveat. It's the only time I have played L1Z1X, and it is more or less situational depending on how much you reason the circumstances or arguments. I love that this starts off with this point being kind of like, I don't know. This is when I used it, but we'll see. So here are
To be fair to Von Ron though, this is what we asked.
Yeah,
for.
this is
We were like,
no, I
give
love
us
it.
your
I'm
anecdote.
not dogging on him. So circumstances were, I had only high influence, low resource planets in my pie slice. So I needed trade goods. One of the initial public objectives was lead from the front, so a command counter was worth 1/3 of a VP. The other races were Hakan, able to trade, and with a surfeit of... You are using some big word...
Von Ron's got good
vocabulary, better than me. You got Hakan's got lots of trade goods. Arborex there, Sardak's there. So what Von Ron was able to do is multiple trades of the promissory note. Highest price, 3 trade goods. They needed it for a VP. Lowest price, 4 commodities from Hakan for 3 trade goods. They didn't need a VP, and it was just situational and part of a pattern of friendly trading we had. The arguments specific to the promissory note I used to trade it away were: it is part of a VP. That's what got the best price. You don't have enough command counters this turn or round, and to use it during the end of a round, you won't have enough command counters next round. Or also just throwing it in to sweeten another agreement or arrangement. So just kind of like throwing it out there often, which I think is partially what we tried to recommend. It's not something that ever worked for us, but like just always reminding people that you have it and it's there to like be traded is useful. I do think the fact of like Von Ron had the influence high pie slice, what that usually means is nobody else has an influence. Like if you got all the influence planets, no one else has influence, which means it just became even more valuable. It's not just that you have a lot of influence, but that nobody else has influence. And yeah, definitely the best case scenario is that victory point comes out, because then command counters are even more valuable. So I love this. This is like probably one of the only situations where like you're going to be able to milk it for all it's worth.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. All right, this next one is from Gordy Hay. In one of our games, I was the Arborek, and the L1Z1X were in the game. The L1 player went down the big fleet route, 5 Super Dreads and Flagship, and used a wormhole to attack my home slice. They had used inheritance systems to get X-89. I lost all my space combats. No real surprise there. However, the L1 didn't bring any ground forces, WTF. So while they could always X-89 my planets, they could never take control or get any VPs. So they rampaged around my slice trying to X-89 my ground forces. I just ended up using bioplasmosis to move ground forces away from where I thought the next target would be. Also just spanning a ground force with mitosis. So to sum it up, if you're going to uproot, take ground forces.
This is again another whole problem with X-89 is
Right.
you got to be able to finish the job, and that takes time. They didn't mention this, but that also is a boost to transit diodes. If you X-89 an Arborek, if they have transit diodes, next turn they just throw 4 more ground forces over there. It's
Yeah.
not a big deal.
X-89 is such a bad tech.
Yeah, there's the prevailing thought used to be that it's better against Arborek than it is Soul X-89, because
Yeah.
the Soul player can just orbital drop. But if
It's not really good against
it's
either
not a
of
good
them.
against either. Arborek can either bioplasmosis or transit diodes, and especially if they haven't activated that system that you just X-89'd, like I just said, they transit diodes, and then they build 4 more ground forces. They immediately just got 8 ground forces
Right.
back on the planet. Like
I will say, it's still potentially
it's
useful.
still maybe there.
It's
I don't
still
know.
maybe there. It's just not good against the ground force specialist. But anybody else, it should work, right? Should it? Shouldn't it?
It's just never worth it. It's just not good. There's no way to recommend X-89.
Yeah, I know.
RoboFish, though, from Board Game Geek, says, one thing that I think gets overlooked in Harrow, the ability that lets you bombard a lot, is how it works in multi-planet systems. Normally, you have to divide bombardment between planets, and the mine net do in the step before landing, but at the end of each round, all of your ships bombard each planet. Mine net ground forces are just standing around while the fleet does all of the work. We probably barely mentioned this in the episode, if at all. But yeah, that is the power of Harrow. It's not that you're doing it every round; it's that you're doing it with every single ship, every single round, on
Right.
every single planet.
Right.
And I mean, it's kind of the problem of why Gordy Hay had this Arborek issue, is that like L1Z1X doesn't have a huge incentive to bring very many ground forces.
Right.
You kind of just bring a couple and you let the bombardment do all of the work. So chalk that up to we should have talked about that a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Harrow is amazing, man. You know what, Hunter? I think Harrow's the best ability in the game.
Oh, it'd be
it's
so
amazing.
cool. It'd be so cool
It's
if-
happening again. I love them. I love them. If anyone thinks that Lizix Minet is not the new best race in the game, I don't understand where you're.
Yeah, I don't get it either, and I would like to specifically hear exactly
you.
what you have to say. It's time. It's
time.
God, this episode has been far too long. How long has this episode been? Very long.
Very long.
Really long. And
very
I gotta be honest, guys, I'm really hungry. I'm really, really hungry right now. Okay, so let's get through this. Oh, hey, do we want to mention at the top, before we even get into the rundown, that tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we will be on YouTube streaming. And the reason we're doing this is because we're going to hit 100,000 downloads.
Yeah, we didn't say this
probably.
at the top of the show.
Right. Well,
Well,
maybe you
I
will
probably
fix it.
inserted it.
Yeah, he probably
Keep
inserted it. But yeah, we're getting 100,000 downloads this week. Help us get there,
Help us get there. We would love to see it happen on Wednesday. I kind of mathed this out last week, and that's kind of theoretically when we would get it. But if you want to throw an extra download our way, maybe
show your dad, show your mom, show your cousin.
But no, we are really hoping that we hit 100,000 downloads during our live stream. We'll pop the champagne and have a little fun. That's why we wanted to do this stream. So please join us and help us celebrate. We're going to have a completely stupid game.
Yeah,
tomorrow.
And have a glass of champagne with us on the middle of the day on a
Yeah.
Wednesday. Guys, it's rundown time. You can go to our Twitter, SpaceCatsPod, for game updates and announcements. We also sometimes will update it with live game information if I remember to do it.
Yeah.
You can check out our Facebook as well, Space Cats Peace Turtles, for announcements and questions. You can go to the Reddit Twilight Imperium for the weekly post and discussion. That's how you get your comments into the errata. The other way you can do that is go to our Board Game Geek Guild for discussions, and you can also check out the calendar there.
Which is currently wrong.
Right. Currently wrong.
I'm going to edit it here in the next day or so, but we are not doing Hakan next week.
Nope.
We're going to do a Galactic Council episode. So
Right.
sorry for those of you who have been really waiting for Hakan and Yin. We're putting it off one more week.
We'll get there. You can email us at spacecatspiecesturtles@gmail. And we prefer you to send This Imperium Life Stories to that email, and also Plays of the Week.
I need more Plays of the Week. We've kind of caught up to our backlog. Send us your Plays of the Week. And remember, Plays of the Week are different from This Imperium Life in a very specific way. This Imperium Life is like, tell me the whole story.
Right.
Give me the details of the game. I want every bit of it. Play of the Week is, give me the piece. Give me just like that play that was awesome. You can ignore all the context of who ended up winning.
Right.
Tell me who had that killer round 2 play.
Right.
I don't care, but I'm running a little bit low. And when you do a Play of the Week, remember, it's not about the entire game. It is about a moment that was awesome.
Just the cool trick you did, basically. You can check out our Patreon, Space Cats, Beast Turtles, Patreon, to contribute to this show and actually help make the podcast better, and also, obviously, help us to cover the Twilight Imperium tournament at Gen Con this year that we are super excited about.
Yep.
We've got, we've got hotels.
We have our tickets,
figured
we have
out.
our hotels,
We've got
we're
our
getting there,
tickets.
and that's all been because of the Patreon that we've
Right.
been able to get these things. We don't have to dispose of our own incomes.
We're going to have gear
we're
there.
Yes,
It's
things
gonna
are
be
coming
awesome.
together, and it is because of our Patreoners.
Let's make sure we mention to check out our Discord for fun conversation, Patreon benefits, and other things. I also try and get people to come to my comedy shows there.
I'll say this much too on the Discord. If we're talking about Galactic Council episode being next week, if you do the $5 donation to become a Galactic Council, you can help us decide next week's episode. We haven't decided it yet, and we're going to be debating it for the next couple days before we need to record it. So get in there and help us decide what next episode
and check out the memes.
Yeah, come check out our memes.
Please rate us on your podcast app of choice, especially Apple Podcast and iTunes. That helps with visibility of the show. And now I want to thank some Patreoners real quick. I want to thank John C. Myers. I want to thank Nicholas Lundberg. And I want to thank Chisel. Old Chisel. And then I've got something really specific to me. I want to throw some comedy dates out at you. I'm going to be doing a little bit of traveling, a tiny bit of comedy traveling this upcoming weekend. On Friday, May 18th, I will be performing at the Cap City Comedy Club in Salem, Oregon, for a show called Friday Night Funny. That starts at 9:30 p.m. On Saturday, May 19th, I'm going to be at Jai Tai in Seattle, Washington, doing a show called Roast Beef. That starts at 9 p.m. And on Sunday, May 20th, I will be at the Highline Bar in Seattle, Washington, featuring for a very, very funny Seattle comic called Tyler Schnupp. And that also starts at 9 p.m. And also, kind of on top of that, just putting out a general thing, obviously, Saturday and Sunday during the day, I will be in Seattle. I will probably be trying to get together Twilight Imperium game while I'm there, or maybe just hanging out. Feel free to hit me up.
Do it on our Discord, too. That's probably the best spot. I mean, Twitter and everything else will work, too, but if you join our Discord, we do lots of organizing games there. So there's a whole specific channel for, like...
There's a whole specific... Because I'm actually very bad at watching the Discord, and I'm a very busy, important person. So I have a... Okay. I have a special channel, so if you specifically want to hit me up, pop into that channel. Also, just slide into my DMs. I don't care.
Yeah.
Let's do that play of the week.
Yes. I hope everyone listens to this part. I know the rundown kind of runs long for us, but I hope everyone sticks around for the plays of the week. Because they're like one of my favorite parts
your
of
little
the
treat
show.
at the end.
Yeah. So this play of the week is brought to us by Vera. It's 2 R's in a row. I'm gonna roll it. Vera. Actually, Vera's was very long and very good, but again, I wanted to just bring it down to the nugget of the play of the week.
Right.
I wanted to just get the play. But to give you some context, Vera gave me a long, epic story about stretching too thin as Hakan, having their home planets taken away, making some last-ditch efforts at secret objectives on the board where Jolnar and Necro were working very closely together. The end of the game was a Jolnar victory due to representative government, where everyone gets one vote during the agenda phase, being played when Shard of the Throne was revealed. Representative government being in play when Shard of the Throne was revealed. And during that same agenda, both of the action cards that add votes to agendas were played. But Jolnar had bribery, which gives you trade goods, and they're Jolnar, so they have Erez Siphons, so they have a lot of trade goods. So Jolnar won the game by bribing a huge vote for the Shard of the Throne for the victory. But the reason Jolnar got to this point is because of this week's Play of the Week. It's worth noting that Jolnar is one position ahead of Necro in speaker order. So Jolnar is to the right of Necro at this table. Jolnar and Necro had been plotting all game together. More to the benefit of Jolnar, but Necro or Jolnar would take politics. Then Necro or Jolnar, whoever didn't take politics, would take technology. Necro would always give Jolnar speaker, so Jolnar could always go first. Necro could always go second. They could keep control of this. This is very similar to how we described a trade triangle last week.
Right.
Then Jolnar would send fighter 2s into Necro's systems for her to fight, and Jolnar also gave the Necro their support for the throne. This strategy was inspired by the trade triangle mentioned in the last podcast. However, it was intended to starve everyone else of tech, which it mostly did. I got politics once, and tech was taken twice by other people, but besides that, everyone was very low tech. So
Wow.
Necro and Jolnar controlled not only the tech game, but for Necro, this is controlling the command counter game. Every time Necro's getting technology in this deal, they're getting way more command counters.
Wow.
That's crazy. I'll say this much too. I thought this was a fun thing to kind of theory craft for a minute. Like, what's the best way for Jolnar and Necro to have this relationship? I agree that, like, one of them needs to be adjacent so that they can take advantage of the speaker order thing. But I thought it was interesting that Jolnar chose to give Necro their support for the throne. Because what that meant is it kept Necro at bay a little bit. Necro had no reason to attack Jolnar, but I also think it's a missed opportunity. Because if Jolnar has Erez Siphons, all that ever has to happen is Necro attacks Jolnar.
Right.
Jolnar gains 4 trade goods. Necro gains a tech. I don't know, Hunter. Which do you think is, like, the better version? Would you rather be Jolnar and give out a support for the throne to be doing these deals, or would you rather let Necro kind of attack you at your cheap fleets?
I don't really understand, actually, because if Jolnar gives Necro support for the throne and then Necro attacks Jolnar...
No. Jolnar is attacking Necro.
Why is Jolnar attacking Necro?
He's just sending a fighter in so that they keep the deal going.
I
We're just working together.
I see. I
Here's a
messed
fighter. Here's one fighter. Blow it up. Get a tech.
No, I actually think that kind of counterbalances it.
Yeah.
If Jolnar is literally feeding Necro and having to do that way and having to sacrifice their own command counters in order to do it, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
I think that's okay.
Yeah. I think the other version that could work is the Erez Siphons things, letting Necro attack into you, but then, like, making it worth... I don't know. There's a lot of ways that those two can have a fun relationship. I think people always talk about, like, ooh, Necro's just going to feed off of Jolnar and tear him up. But it's like, I think Jolnar can find many, many ways to profit off of Necro wanting to feed off Jolnar. I do not think it is a one-sided thing.
I think it's super cool.
I think it's super cool. It is worth noting that Jolnar is the one who won the game and got the better end of the deal here. But that could easily be swayed a different way if Necro got the objectives in the right order.
I'll say this, it's not as solid as the trade triangle.
No, exactly.
Basically.
So the trade triangle is, like, impossible to stop. This one, there's not that many rounds you can definitively make sure the speaker token is in the right spot every time. At some point, there's going to be a round where, it broke, we're going to have to fix it next round or whatever. But yeah, I love this. It's been a long time since we've really played with Jolnar. Just kind of been actively avoiding them for a while, and I really hope we get a game with Jolnar and Necro in it soon.
I want to do a stream. I keep having ideas for streams. I want to do a stream where we play all the primo races.
Yeah, I want to play all. I want 3 combos.
Yeah,
like I want Mentaka Khan, Jolnar Necro, and what's the other?
What's the other one?
What's the other combo?
Tell us.
Yeah, that's it. Tell us, and goodbye. Hunter's gonna eat some food.
I'm so hungry.
Oh, Hunter,
I'm so hungry.
what are you gonna eat?
What do you think?
A hamburger.
Yeah.
There's a place right by my house.
Just so you guys know, there's this really good place in Hillsdale that you guys should all check out.
Burger Stevens.
Burger Stevens. It is a food truck. They do burgers, and they do them right.
Every week, Hunter comes over to my house to record. He shows up with a burger and a basket of fries and a glass bottle Dr. Pepper. And he makes me put on the teapot because he wants some chai tea while we record. That's why if you ever hear some slurping, that's Hunter and his chai tea. Thank you for listening to Space Cat's Peace Turtles. And thanks to Ben Prunty for the use of his music. You can find more at benpruntymusic.com and benprunty.bandcamp.com. Pax Magnifica, Bellum Gloriosum.